I've been buying and selling Leicas for about 4 years, making a living buying and selling cameras online. And this is a quick guide on how to buy your first Leica. So the first question that people typically will ask is, what body should I buy? And today we're talking about Leica M mount bodies, not the screw mount versions. I will ask one question, and this question tends to narrow it down pretty easy. And that question is, do you need a light meter built into the camera? Most people say yes. Once we find out that they want a light meter built into the camera, it narrows it down pretty easily. We're left with the M6, the M7, the M5. Now, while the M5 is a great body and I highly recommend buying that camera, most first-time buyers are looking for the classic Leica body look. So that usually takes the M5 out of the question. Now, the M7 is a great body, and you can get it in a lot of different builds, different viewfinders. You can get it custom à la carte. The M7 has an electronic shutter. This means that you can get faster shutter speeds compared to the average Leica body, which maxes out at 1,000th of a second. So if you're doing portraiture in the middle of the day and you need your fast shutter speed to keep your lens wide open, that's a good option. Having an electronic shutter is great, but unfortunately, when that battery dies, your camera is dead. Carrying extra batteries isn't a huge deal for most people, but if you ever find yourself in a situation where you don't have any, your camera is virtually useless. And this is where the M6 wins. The M6 is a mechanical body. The batteries inside the M6 work only to power that light meter. If the light meter goes down, you can still shoot. Now, some people ask, what if I'm shooting 800 ISO film and I want to take a portrait of someone in the middle of the day? The way to get around that is just to put an ND filter on your lens. That will allow you to shoot wide open, and even at 1,000th of a second, that will be plenty. A lot of people use this method shooting with the Konica Hexar autofocus, and if I'm not mistaken, that camera maxes out at 1/250th of a second. So it's not really fast, but you get a couple NDs and you're pretty much good to go. So we've narrowed things down to the M6. And I'm sure some of you have noticed by now that the camera in the video is not an M6. This is an M4 II. This is the one I've got for today, so it's just going to have to be today's eye candy. Now that you're looking at the M6, there are a couple options to look through. One is the viewfinder. The M6 will come in a 0.58 magnification, a 0.72 magnification, and a 0.85 magnification. Now, if you wear glasses while shooting, a 0.58 is really the ideal viewfinder for you. It allows you to see the frame lines really well, even when your eye is that much further from the viewfinder. Otherwise, a 0.72 does pretty well. That's what I've used for a long time. And as long as you're not using too wide of a lens, you'll be okay. Usually when you get that wide anyways, you're using an external viewfinder, and those tend to be pretty good even if you're wearing glasses. There are differences between the 0.58, the 0.72, and the 0.85 magnification viewfinders. This comes down to frame lines. 0.85 is a great viewfinder if you find yourself shooting a lot of 50mm, a lot of 75, a lot of 90mm lenses. The 0.72 is great if you're shooting 28mm, 35mm, 50mm. And the 0.58 is really great if you have glasses, you're shooting 28, 35, and 50mm as well. You can always shoot focal lengths outside of that range of frame lines. What you can do in that case is get an external viewfinder. Some lenses are even paired with goggles that will change that viewfinder for you. When you look at the viewfinder from the front side, on most M6 bodies you can see which magnification it is. The 0.72 is the standard. There are two other distinguishing features between two different body styles of M6s. The first being the Classic, and the second is the TTL. You can tell which one is the TTL by looking at the two. The one with the bigger shutter speed dial is the TTL. It comes all the way to the edge of the camera, whereas the Classic has a smaller shutter speed dial. The TTL allows flashes to be obviously shot at DTL, basically metering through the lens and adjusting automatically to your settings. If you shoot a lot of flash, that can be handy for you. Just keep in mind that you're going to have to shoot the Leica flashes. The best thing to do when you're looking for your first M body is to either go into an actual store where they sell used cameras, or go to a reputable website. I like APUG and Rangefinder Forum. These are good websites, most of the time with very honest people. What makes a Leica body special is the mount attached to it. That allows you to put Leica lenses on it. Keep in mind, a lens is going to run you about the same cost as that body. Voigtlander makes a lot of good options, but when you're going for that Leica look, you're going to want a Leica lens. A lot of people I know have bought Leica bodies and then they come to me saying, "Hey, I don't have a lot of money left for a lens. What should I buy?" In that case, I always recommend the same lens. The 40mm Summicron is one of the greatest lenses you can buy. You can find them for about $450 to $600 Canadian, and they are very, very sharp lenses. Now the M6 won't have frame lines for it, but you can modify these lenses to bring up 35mm frame lines, and that's pretty close. For a first-time Leica buyer, I'd usually tell them to budget at least $300 over your initial budget just for a CLA. That stands for clean, lube, and adjustment. CLAs are important for the lifespan of a Leica. Leicas are very similar to, say, a Rolex watch. They will last forever, but they do need basic maintenance. And it is nice when you get one, send it off, get it cleaned, and it'll come back working very, very well. Rangefinder alignment is something you should ask your seller about. If your rangefinder is not aligned, then your photos will be out of focus. Usually, if they're using this camera, they will know. Here's a loose price breakdown of what you can expect when you're looking for these bodies. An M6 Classic with a 72 viewfinder will range from about $900 to $1,200. An 8.5 viewfinder in a Classic body will range from about $1,000 to $1,300. An M6 TTL with a 58 viewfinder will cost you about $1,300 to maybe even $1,500. A TTL with a 72 viewfinder will cost you about $1,000 to $1,300. And an 8.5 viewfinder in the TTL body will cost you about $1,000 to $1,300 as well. These are Canadian prices. You can adjust these for any denomination. They should be relatively accurate. I hope that helps. I know I didn't cover everything. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message, and I'll do my best to give you a hand.